Hello and welcome to the news updates on AFRICUNIA television, bringing you updates from the African scene, the foreign scene and the world of sport. My name is Deborah Ezeh. Many thanks for joining me. Looking into the African scene today in Nigeria, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres yesterday arrived Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, as part of his two-day official visit to Nigeria. He began the visit in Borno, where the country has been struggling in its fight against Islamist militants. Guterres is billed to interface with his host Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum and also interact with surrendered fighters and families affected by the Boko Haram conflict ravaging the region for more than 12 years. The UN Secretary General will round off his visit with a joint media briefing at Government House Maiduguri with Governor Zulum. This is the first official visit of the 9th Secretary General to Nigeria. Guterres had earlier visited Niger Republic and Senegal. The United Nations Information Center in Nigeria said the Secretary General will also evaluate the impact of climate change on vulnerable communities and assess progress made as well as challenges to COVID-19 recovery. And still in Nigeria, Chairman of Southern Governors Forum and Governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, yesterday urged President Muhammadu Buhari and the leadership of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC not to keep party members waiting for their position on where the next president of Nigeria will come from. Akeredolu insisted that it was the turn of the southern part of the country to produce the next president. In a similar vein, Chairman, Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Senator Okweyemi Bamidele, declared that rotational presidency in Nigeria between the North and South was legal and constitutional. Akeredolu, in a statement he personally signed, stressed the need for the president and the APC leadership to ensure that the southern parts of the country produce the next president. The governor joined the growing number of Nigerians advising not just APC but also PDP to ensure that their presidential candidates in the 2023 general elections were from the southern parts of the country. In Somalia, Shabaab jihadists armed with guns and explosives stormed an African Union base in Somalia on Tuesday, triggering the first firefights that killed Burundi peacekeepers. A high-ranking Burundi military officer said about 30 soldiers were killed and 22 wounded, while a dozen were missing. It was the fourth such attack on a peacekeeping base since the AU transition mission in Somalia replaced the previous AMISOM peacekeeping force on April 1st. Al-Shabaab, which has been waging a deadly insurgency against Somalia's fragile central government for more than a decade, claimed responsibility, saying it had taken control of the camp and claimed to have killed 173 soldiers. Somalia's government said it condemns the attack targeting ATMIS and appealed to the international community to do more to support Somalia's forces and ATMIS in effectively combating terrorism. Moving on, Africa's first COVID-19 vaccination plans risk shutting down after receiving not a single order. This announcement comes at a time when a large portion of Africa's population remains unvaccinated and also at a time when South Africa has entered into the fifth wave of the pandemic. According to the World Health Organization, as of March this year, only a sixth of adults in Africa had been fully vaccinated. Professor Tulio de Oliveira, the director of the Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation in South Africa, said that the closure could affect the production of older vaccines that do not affect the developed world, as well as preparation for the next pandemic. It is the aim of the African Union that 60% of all vaccine will be produced in Africa. However, with the latest development, Africa is at risk of missing this target. Still on the African scene, a memorial museum and some businesses have been damaged in Addis Ababa after clashes between police and Muslims celebrating the end of the Ramadan broke out on Monday, April 2nd. The incident occurred outside the International Stadium in the center of the Ethiopian capital, where Eid al-Fitr prayers were taking place. Some 6 suspects have already been arrested by the Ethiopian police. A member of the Ethiopian High Council of Islamic Affairs reported that people at the scene told him that a policeman accidentally fired a round of tear gas, which triggered a confrontation. The Islamic Affairs Council of the Amhara region says extremist Christians are responsible for the deadly attack. The region's security authorities said on Friday that 373 people had been arrested. We now head to the foreign scene, where the European Union is expected to outline oil sanctions against Russia as it forces pounded targets in eastern Ukraine, unleashing rockets on the steel plant that is last redoubt of resistance in the port's capital of Mariupol. Scores of evacuees who managed to leave the city under UN and Red Cross auspices reached the relative safety of Ukraine-controlled Zaporizhia on Tuesday after cowering for weeks in bunkers beneath the sprawling Azovstal steel plant. Weary-looking evacuees, including children and old people, clambered up buses after escaping the ruins of their hometown in southeastern Ukraine, where Russia now claims control. More than 200 civilians remain in the plant, according to Mariupol Mayor Vadim Boychenko, with 100,000 civilians still in the city. Moving on, North Korea has fired a ballistic missile towards the sea off its east coast on Wednesday, South Korea's military said, about a week after the North vowed to develop its nuclear forces at the fastest possible speed. The launch, which marks the North's 14th major weapon test this year, comes days before South Korea's newly elected president, Yoon Suk-yeol, takes office on May 10th. South Korea's military said it detected the launch about noon in the Sunan area of Pyongyang. Last week, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un pleaded to speed up the development of his country's nuclear arsenal while overseeing a huge military parade as the nuclearization talks with the United States remains stalled. Still on the foreign scene, India registered about 475,000 more total deaths in 2020 than the previous year. Government data released months ahead of schedule on Tuesday showed, as the World Health Organization readies its estimates of excess COVID-19 deaths, whose methodology new daily as opposed. Some experts estimate India's actual COVID death toll is as high as 4 million, about 8 times the official figure, especially as a record wave driven by the Delta variant killed many people in April and May of last year. A top health official who had overseen India's fight against the pandemic said there was nothing dramatic in the total death data for 2020 and that those were absolute, correct and counted numbers. It said the data showing 8.1 million total deaths in India in 2020 was released by the Office of the Registrar General 2 to 3 months in advance because of the attention on the country's COVID toll. India officially reported 148,738 COVID-19 deaths in 2020, with the tally jumping to 523,889 on Tuesday out of more than 43 million cumulative infections. Only the United States and Brazil have recorded more deaths as of Tuesday. Away from the foreign scene onto the sports scene, Liverpool overcame a valiant performance by Villarreal to book a third Champions League final in 5 seasons with a 3-2 victory at El Madrigal to complete a 5-2 aggregate win on Tuesday night. The 6-time European champions saw their first lead advantage extinguished in the first half as Villarreal's third-minute opener was added by Francis, who had jumped Trent Alexander-Arnold to float a header into the top corner. It was a very dominant second-half display from Georgian club side, who capitalized on further dubious goalkeeping as Sadio Mane nipped in front of the roaming Rulli. Liverpool's hectic schedule continues as they host Tottenham in the Premier League on Saturday at 7:45 p.m, knowing they cannot afford to slip up if they are to catch Manchester City. The Champions League final takes place on May 28th at Saint-Denis Stade de France in Paris against either Real Madrid or Manchester City. And finally, the sale of Chelsea has been thrown into doubt over disagreement about what will happen to the £2.5 billion the club is expected to be sold for. The consortium, led by US businessman Todd Boehly, is the preferred bidder to buy Chelsea, but the UK government will not allow the sale to go through unless it is completely certain that Roman Abramovich will not receive any of the proceeds. The government is aware of attempts to restructure any potential deal in a way which could see Abramovich receive the £1.5 billion he has loaned the club through its parent company, Fordstam Limited. The government has to issue a special license to Chelsea to be sold, and it would not do so if any proceeds were going to Abramovich or towards paying back the loans he is owned by the club. And that concludes the news updates on AFRICUNIA television today. Do ensure to follow all our social media platforms on Jointum, Pangram, Instagram, and on Facebook in their respective order. Visit our website on www.africunia.tv and also subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay connected and up to date to our various programs. Once again, I am Deborah Ezeh. Bye for now.